Hi guys, Luca here from Sabre Airsoft with a quick video to show you how to install the VMP2 knocker reset arm created by Alice within my new Sabre Airsoft development community. You can find a link to the Discord down below. Hope to see you there. We're working on quite a few things, including an end pass for the VMP2. Anyway, on to this. So what you'll need in order to install this is you will need a 4mm Allen bit, a 2.5mm Allen bit, and a 2mm Allen bit. And that's, as far as the Allen tools go, that is all you'll need. You'll also need some appropriate grease. I always recommend Superlube Grade 2 PTFE grease, as it is the right viscosity and provides a much better interface for metal-on-metal contact, as well as metal-on-plastic contact. Some may argue that silicone grease is better. However, in my experience, PTFE I find to be more performant and more reliable. You'll also need a brush to apply said grease. Lastly, what you'll need is something similar to this. So this is an old spring from, it's a broken spring. The important thing is the wire in this is thick enough that I can get it into the back of the hammer spring guide. So within here there is a metal rod with a very strong spring behind it. That is your hammer spring. At the rear here there is the rear of the arm. Within that is a small hole. To make your life easier, you get your wire or pin or appropriate whilst pushing the hammer down and just thread that through. What that's going to do is allow you to remove the hammer without having to remove the hammer spring. Believe me when I say, that's going to make your life considerably easier. Then once you're done, you just remove it and function resumes. So, on to the disassembly. You don't need to disassemble a huge amount, but there are some very important things that you do need to do. You will need to remove the furniture here, and the mag catch as well. So you take your 4mm bit and you remove the two body screws first. Just make sure to remember to grab the crush ring there. That just stops the screws from backing themselves out. There's one on the top, one on the bottom. There we go. Set them to one side. Next, you'll need to remove these two body pins. They can be stiff sometimes, and if they are, just use your Allen bit to just nudge them through. Don't use a hammer, because if new pro sees you using a hammer, they will void your warranty. They have told me this. Incidentally, as a warning, if you are going to do this, this may very well void your warranty. So if you've already voided it, fine. If you haven't, then send it back. If you're having gassing out issues, just send it back. Don't do this. This particular one is being a bit stubborn, actually. Might be because of leaning it on the front. There we go. Don't pull them all the way out. You only need to go for now to when it first clicks. And you can remove the upper. So that's to one side, as you won't need to do anything to that at the moment. Then we need to remove all of this furniture. The selector switch is our 2.5mm Allen bits, and the other two pieces that you need to remove are 2mm. Again, I advise keeping it all together so that you don't lose it. Remove this paddle. Incidentally, if you're using the AirTac M4 adapter, you will also need to remove this paddle like so. And then finally, on this side, we remove the mag catch. Once you've removed all of those, take the body pins and do them one more step. Just a little bit further so that you should be able to see the notch there on both of them. That will allow you then to just lift your trigger group assembly out of the body. Once you've got it like this, the next step is the easy part. The harder part is putting it back together. It can be a little bit fiddly. So we're going to take our wire, spring, pin, whatever it be. We're going to cock the hammer back and push a little bit further and then thread it through. Once you've got it in there and you've got it properly such that it holds it even further back ideally, main thing is that we're preventing the pin from going through. Then what we need to do is remove this pin here. This is very easy to come out. In fact, I have in a couple of times seen it working its way out once I've removed it. So I'm just going to hold the hammer down and push through. Once it's going through, the hammer comes free. This is where some people may get scared because suddenly things will want to just fall apart. That's fine. This knocker arm is attached to this via a spring. This is the battery arm, as I call it. It won't shoot until that has been tripped, which allows the hammer to be fired. To remove it, I'm just going to lift it so it comes out of the slot, and now it's no longer under tension, and then I'm just going to put it forward. As I say, things like to fall over, and remove the reset arm. The only thing you need from this reset arm is the spring. What I would suggest doing is testing the fit, see if it goes in sufficiently. If it doesn't, you may need to clean out the hole. Alice has done her best in order to ensure that the hole is as empty and free as possible. However, it is at the end of the day a 3D printed part and it may not be perfect. Just going to push it in, just to make sure that it is seated in there. There we go. Next, I'm going to apply some grease to it. If you're thinking that, well, the original is made out of metal, how can the plastic survive? This actually experiences very, very, very little stress. So in our testing so far, we've not managed to break it during normal use. And in fact, I did a bit of destructive testing, which there will be a short clip of at the end here. Beginning test. To give you an idea of the kind of testing we've done, where it did not break at all. In fact, there was no sign of wear whatsoever. If it does break on you, then get in touch and we'll do whatever we can to help you. If you've printed it yourself, just print another one. Do make sure that you follow the recommended settings on the description of the page, as that is the exact settings of what we've printed and found works. There may be a metal version of this available in the future, though at the moment I feel that it is prohibitively expensive to do so. We're talking £9.50 per unit plus VAT cost to me at the moment, which would then result after delivery, inspection, etc., probably £15 to £20 per an arm, and I don't feel that's an appropriate price. £4.50 is an appropriate price for something of this size. Okay, so once you've greased it and you've got your spring in there, this is where it's going to get fiddly. What you're going to need to do is seat it in there before seating the other parts. The flat part, long flat part there, is what goes against the outside. And you just slot it into this slot. And then I would suggest holding it and just giving it a quick test up and down. And then this is where the fiddle comes in. You need to get the knocker arm, lift it out, and maneuver it into the window that it goes out of at the front. This can, as I say, be quite fiddly. There we go. Once you've got it in there, hold it, and just in case, in my case, the reset arm has dislodged, so I'm just going to reseat it. Or attempt to reseat it, I should say. And there is actually a gap on this side, which you can put a tool through just to make sure it's in the right place. And then bring it down and back and try and get it through the hammer through the middle of it. There we go. Once that's in place, you should find that it's resting on the reset arm. So you can leave it like that until you get the pin in. So the body pin. Again, this can be quite a bit of a challenge. You need to get the hammer and the knocker arm lined up. Sometimes what I find helpful is to put it part way through so that the knocker arm is partially retained, and then maneuver the hammer into position. Another thing that you can do is rest it on there, and whilst resting against the pin, you can look using whatever light source you have. In my case, it's off to my right, until you can get the hammer in there. And this can, as I say, be fiddly and go wrong. So I'm going to use, again, just this window here to maneuver that back into the window. In there? Nope. Of course, when I'm not on camera, this is quicker, but because I'm on camera, it's a little bit trickier. Okay. So again, I'm going to pop it through. I can see that the reset arm is actually a little bit low, so I'm going to lift it slightly. There we go. Now I need to maneuver the hammer in. Don't worry if this takes you a few attempts. Unless you're doing this constantly, it probably will take a few attempts. Just take your time, be patient. There we go. Once it's going in, then it goes quite easily. Once you've got it through into the hammer, it's just a matter of lifting it up and down until there we go. So once it's in this position, obviously all of that touching, any grease that was on there is going to start to come off. So I'm just going to give it another re-grease. Making sure to get into the contact points. Again, as always, plenty in the window. I'm just going to reset the arm. Okay. Just get some in the front there. Once you're at this point, now what you need to do is remove your pin and give it a test. You need to hit both the reset arm and the battery arm after each time you pull the trigger. If it's successful and working, every time you press the reset, the knocker should fully retract, as should then when you press the battery arm, the hammer move forward. A bit of extra grease, and we should be good to go. Then it's just a matter of reversing the steps. Don't need to put these all the way through just yet, just through another step. And then we're going to add the furniture back on. I've still got the 2mm bit on there, so I'm going to start with the mag catch. Now what I typically do is I won't fully assemble, so I won't put on the paddle or the selector switches, as what I tend to do first is give it a function test. Okay, there we go, put that away. Make sure that the buffer pin is in. It is good. Okay, so that's body pins in. Now, if you were to test it at this point, you might find that the knocker arm doesn't actually reset. That's because you need to have these body screws in as well in order to ensure that the fit is correct. If you're wondering why this knocker arm solves the issue, it is because Alice designed it such that it's longer, so it sits a bit higher. It can travel down further, and the shelf has a slight change in design as well, where the knocker arm rests against it. This compensates for any deviation between the knocker arm, the bolt carrier group, and the depth of the upper receiver compared to the trigger group. We found that combination is what's causing the gas dumping issues on some, but not all. There may be other factors that we haven't found yet, but so far in our testing, this replacement has solved every single time the problems. So next, get yourself a mag that's gassed but empty of ammo. Make sure it's charged. Just give it a couple of tests. Cycles whilst holding down, and then, like I always say, do it very slowly so you can observe the travel of the reset arm, because if you're doing it slowly and it doesn't retract, then it's not worked. There we go. Then grab your gassed mag, put it in, rack back, drop the bolt and give it a test shot. Then if that's worked without dumping gas, pop on one of your selectors if you've got the full auto version. Set it to full auto and give it another test fire. So, something to note here. If this was gas dumping, that would have failed to retract the knocker and just dump all the gas. If you hear it slowing down, and then eventually it goes, it will slow down, it stops picking up ammo, and then gas drops the gas, that is normal. That is a cooldown. That is not the gas dumping problem. The gas dumping problem is the failure of the knocker arm to be triggered to fall back. And that's what this fixes. You might hear there, it's getting a bit slower. And it's not cycling fully. But it's still not dumping gas. It will do in a second. And that's because of cooldown and not... Ow, that is really cold. That is because of cooldown and failing to cycle fully, not because of the knocker arm failing to retract through normal usage. Oh, ow, that is so cold. Anyway, that is it for this video. You can find the knocker arm on my website for £4.50. 75% of the profit goes to Alice, with 25% retained for my company, which honestly is just so I don't have to work out how much is going into fees. That covers any bank fees, etc., and contributes towards the cost of my website. I don't actually really profit from it. There is also on the website a donation link if you wish to donate to Alice and thank her in addition to the £4.50, which, as I say, just covers costs and it's only a couple of quid profit. If you want to thank her for her tremendous efforts and continued effort, I would add, in order to create improvements for the VMP2, you can do so there. Anyway, that's it. Catch you on the next one.